Thank you very much for being here this morning. We're going to try, Eric and I, to give you some of our thoughts on how to utilize social media, how to get to the top of Google results, because that's something that's going to help grow your business. So I'd like to start right off into some statistics about social media in Google. Now, this may seem unbelievable, it did to me, but I've checked a couple different sources, and the majority of small businesses still do not have a website, which is unbelievable to me in this day and age. So what does that mean? It means that people can't find a business and find out a lot about a business, which means it's difficult to do business with them. The second statistic is that 25% of small businesses don't show up in Google results. So what does that mean? If you don't show up in results, they don't know you exist. And so it's really crucial that you are findable, certainly on Google, if you want to grow your business and be profitable. A third statistic, and this is also absolutely amazing, is that 98% of 18 to 24-year-olds have used social media. So what does that mean to your business? If you don't use social media now, you are missing that entire demographic. And if you're not using the future, your business will have difficulties. And so you really want to be aware of the importance of getting involved in social media. What is social media? Well, people usually think of Facebook, yes, and we'll talk a little about that. YouTube. Some of these social media ones are what comprises this 98%. So it's very important that you realize, kind of what the conditions are of our business climate. 1.4 billion people have used Facebook. 1.4 billion. That's 1 out of 5 people on the earth. 1 out of 5 people have had a Facebook experience. Meaning that if you want to know what the world is up to, you better know something about Facebook. Because 1 out of 5 people is a huge, huge presence in the world. Okay, another amazing statistic is that 290 million unique visitors to YouTube a month. 490 million. Okay, meaning what? Meaning that if you are not on YouTube, you are missing out. If you're not on YouTube personally, if you're not on YouTube professionally, you really want to start getting involved in YouTube. And Eric Latender, our speaker up next, is a YouTube specialist. And he can explain some of the additional reasons why you want to be on YouTube. Okay. And by the way, YouTube just started when? Does anyone know when YouTube started? When it was incorporated? Eric, it's not fair if you answer. 2005. So it's only been 8 years or so since YouTube came on the scene. And so the world has changed from non-video to video in 8 years in terms of businesses. And so you must get a presence in a video medium to be effective on a going forward basis in your businesses. 80% of local web searches end up with a call or visit, meaning that right now, if I go in and say, okay, coffee, okay, I type in coffee, then I'm hopefully going to be picked up in a local Google Plus or Yelp or some kind of service that's going to pick me up and say, okay, here are your choices. Your choices are go to the Student Center, Blanchard, here at Mount Holyoke, go to the library, go to the coffee shop, or go to Thirsty Mind, or go to Granby Five Corners Dunkin' Donuts, because I typed in search, coffee, or I said verbally to my phone, I said to Surrey on the Apple system or something, coffee, okay, because it's 7 a.m. and I have a presentation to do, right, at 8 a.m., so coffee, and it's going to come up on a search and give me some choices. You want to be in that ball game. If you're Thirsty Mind, or you're the cafe at the library, you want to be in the ball game. So that's another big thing, local web searches, a huge dramatic shift in the business climate over the last 10 years. Another major statistic that I like to say is 75% of all online searchers never scroll past the first page of search results. So what does that mean? It means that if you don't show up on page 1 of Google or whatever search engine, you are losing out on business, period. End of story. You want to be search results number 1 on that page, obviously. But not all of us can do that. We don't have the time, money, and resources necessarily. But you can get on page 1 of search results, and Eric is the person who will help you understand how to do that to get to page 1 in about 25 minutes. Sure. Okay, so your goal as a business is to what? Be visible. Is to be visible in person, like I am visible here today in person, or visible online. Right? Because if you're not visible, someone cannot find you, they cannot do business with you. So if you don't have a website, they can't find you. If you don't socialize around or go to business events like this and other events, they don't see you in person. So you have no visibility. Well, what is a key to profitability for many businesses? It's a combination of visibility plus credibility equals profitability. First, you have to be visible, either in person and or online. Then you have to have credibility. You know, if I do photography or something, I have to be credible, right? I have to have results. So if I have results of Steve and Jen Marco's wedding that took place here a couple years ago, I have to be credible in, you know, did I get results? Are the photographs nice? Is Steve still my friend? You know, and stuff after that. Did I disrupt the wedding or something and they don't want to, you know, see me again the rest of my life? That type of thing. So credibility is very important too. And guess what? How do you build credibility? You build it in person as well as online. One reason you utilize social media online is to build that credibility, to build that comfortableness of doing business with you. Someone wants to be comfortable with you before they do business with you. That's one of the keys to social media. It's not necessarily to sell the product, it's to have people feel like you're the person that they want to do business with. So that's where the social media sometimes comes into play. Much like today, we socialize and get comfortable with one another when we do business on a word-of-mouth basis. Okay, so how do we find out about a business or person? This is the first interactive here. How would you say, without looking at that? What typically comes to mind when you think about how do you find out about a business or person? What's your first choice usually?
Google it.
Google it, right? Right. So look how things have changed. Before 1998, what did you do? You didn't Google it because it didn't exist. So when I started my first business in high school, a window washing business, how did I get found or how did people find out about me? Well, primarily through my parents. My parents said, hey, our son does window washing. Why don't you hire him? Give him some lunch money so we don't have to. That was a in-person as well as through others type contact. Well, post 1998, we now go and say, we just Google it, right? But still today, you can have maybe about these 4 ways that you typically find out about a person or a business. There's the in-person, like we're doing today. I might introduce myself for the first time to someone, and we establish a business and or a personal relationship. Through others, Eric Latender, I first heard about through others in a business networking group. Some other people said, hey, you got to meet this guy, Eric Latender. He's a good guy, and he really knows what he's doing about marketing and online marketing and YouTube. And so his reputation preceded him through others to me. And then I met him and said, oh yeah, good, yeah. In fact, yeah, well, why don't you come speak, because he has, that visibility now, and he has a credibility. The old media, what's old media? Well, maybe I'm looking through Business West magazine or a newspaper, and I see, hey, Paul Stallman, the person on the video camera here that's videotaping us today, is going to be giving a talk on November 6th at the Mass Mutual Center. He's giving it on social media, actually, right? Like 2 o'clock or so. It's a great event Business West has at the Mass Mutual Center. I didn't actually find out from Paul, who I know personally. I didn't find out from him that event. I actually read it through Business West first. So I find out things about Paul or someone through old media as well. That's like print media. Okay, then we have new social media. New social media being the Facebook, YouTube, that type of stuff. And then of course it all comes down to, when in doubt, just Google it. Okay? And you got to make sure that you're found when you Google it. You got to make sure it's positive. It's not like a negative review about you. Okay, let's look at some top traffic sites. We have Google #1, incorporated in 1998. We have Facebook #2. We have YouTube #3. And then we have some Chinese search companies, etc. So I kind of skipped down to #8, which is LinkedIn. And that's what I like to focus on, those 4 sites. Those 4 sites are things that you should be involved with on a personal and or business basis to get the visibility that you need online and also the credibility that you need to be profitable. Okay, visibility plus credibility equals profitability. We can get these 4 working for us for free. That's the beauty of it. Isn't it nice to have someone working for you 24/7 for free? You know, it's a beautiful thing. So if you put enough time and effort into this, you can get these 4 working for you 24/7. Now, what are the 4 steps to simplify to get to Google page 1? Steps 1 and 2 I'm going to be talking about now. Steps 3 and 4 Eric will be talking about in a few minutes. So to get to page 1, first of all, you want to create some content on 4 websites. And I know I just said that and you just said, oh my goodness, Dale, come on, 4 websites? You got to be kidding me. I don't have enough time to go to a chamber of breakfast. You want me to get involved in 4 websites? What, do you got to be mad or something? No. It's just that if you have the will to do something, there is the way, and you can do it. You can have a presence on these 4 websites with a reasonable amount of effort. It's like anything else in life. You have to decide, what can I do versus what do I have to, subcontract or have someone else do. It's a combination of those 2. But you do want a presence on these 4. So what's a presence? Number 1, your business. It could be a name, your business name. It could be your personal name. And you want to make sure that you reserve both of those names as soon as possible. So someone else, in other words, doesn't have dalejohnston.com or something like that. I want to reserve my personal stuff. I want to reserve a business name. Okay, number 2 is Facebook. You want to make sure that you have a personal Facebook site. You want to make sure that you have a business Facebook site, and you want to reserve that name as soon as possible before someone else gets that name. You want to have a YouTube presence, both personal and professional, ideally. Start out with 1, and then maybe grow to a second channel there in YouTube. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is for professional networking. How many people have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Why do you have LinkedIn? Because that's the part of credibility that I talked about. It's visibility plus the credibility. It gives you online credentials. You can put there what degree you got, what business you're in. You can put your history. So you need to have a good LinkedIn profile for professional reasons as well as personal. Step number 2, when in doubt, Google yourself. But be careful about doing that in public. And you want to Google your name and you want to Google your business. Let's say you might want to, your name would be Dale Johnston, Steve Marco, or whoever, or business name, Village Eye Care, versus whatever business my name is. Okay, so those are 2 steps I'm going to continue with, and then Eric will be talking more about how to get on page 1 of Google results, because it doesn't matter if you have these 4 websites. If you don't drive traffic to these websites, you're not going to get the business. You can build it, but they're not going to come unless you somehow drive them to that. Okay, so here's an example of if I Google myself, Dale Johnston. I just type in Google Dale Johnston. What do I get? I get 11 million search results. And the first that comes up, citation number 1, is from LinkedIn. That's why I asked if you have a LinkedIn profile. But I'm grouped with 25 people, 25 Dale Johnstons. So then you have to look through those 25 to figure out which one is me. Dale Johnston from South Hadley or whatever. The 6th citation there on page 1 is the first reference to me personally, and that is because I turned up a website called Multimedia Pro a couple months ago, and fortunately it's getting to page 1. So that's the good news. The bad news is there's a lot of ways, I have a ways to go to get that to number 2. Okay, so let's look at what happens when you go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where you get a chance to define what are you professionally. Okay, so I define myself in 3 areas. Okay, this Viridian Energy, Adjunct Professor, and Multimedia Pro. And so you want to pay close attention to how you define yourself. I'm kind of a split personality type person. I got these different kind of interests, so it's a little more difficult. But hopefully you're kind of more focused, and that will benefit you a lot. So then, in my LinkedIn profile, you can go to any one of those 3 areas. So you can go to my multimedia, one that showed up in 6th place in terms of associated with my name, and then go from there. You can go there and you can see the lovely photograph of an aerial photograph I took last month from a helicopter for the town of South Hadley. And here's the beach grounds, the foreground, and the lower Hoyle Canal system, which is a really cool perspective for those familiar with, with that area. So what am I doing? I'm building visual credibility, which is always important in any business. Even if your business is not a visual business, like obviously one of mine is in terms of photography, every business must get relevant, very clear graphics and photographs. And now, in the last 5 years, ballgame's changed to you must have good video. Okay, so you must have good video associated with your business. Okay, so this is the Chamber of Commerce website, and by the way, Paul Stallman helped me with this website. Paul is also a web guru, in addition to social media. So we have a few social media people in the crowd here. And then if you go to Dale Johnston Veridian, what happens then? My second professional identity, let's say. You type in Dale Johnston space Veridian, which is an energy business, and 6 out of the 7 citations come up correctly with me and Veridian, which is good. There's just one person who sneaked in there in position number 4. So I'm going to have to try to eliminate that position there, because I want to be 7 out of 7. Okay, and then you would go to the Veridian website, let's say a link from LinkedIn, for example. If you type in Dale Johnston Professor, how do I show up? I show up in position number 4 in a group of faculty members at Springfield Technical Community College where I teach. So there, I'm in with the group, and then you click there, and then you can proceed, and you find my homepage at STCC. Okay, so you saw kind of what happens when I search for myself. Okay, so the other thing that someone wants to know before they do business with you is something about you personally. Okay, they can see the aerial photograph and whatever, they could see Steve's wedding photo, but they want to know about you personally before they do business. That's where, again, the social media, Facebook, etc., come into play. You know, that people have a comfort with you. The same in the hiring process. You might have great credentials, but do the people feel comfortable with you? Could they envision working with you? It's very important. So how do you find out about me personally? Well, the same way, really, as you find about me professionally. Most people these days, right? Just Google them, you know, and that's what we just did. So now we're going to the personal side of things, though, and we're looking at what happens if you say Dale Johnston in Facebook. Well, the same as LinkedIn, I come up within a group of results. And so then you have to go into Facebook and look at, oh, okay, of all these people called Dale Johnston, where's the funny looking bald guy? If there's a profile picture or something, say, oh, okay, it must be that person. And you also, by the way, should know all of your addresses. You should know your URL address like you should your telephone number. If it's dale.johnston.sh for my URL to go to Facebook, I should know that. Okay, so then the other Dale Johnstons are individuals. So I want to get to the point where this Dale Johnston, position number 2, is me, and no one has to go through and look at a group, in other words. Would be the ideal thing. Okay, then you go to my Facebook page and you see this picture of Upper Lake here, and kind of like the poster there. I just felt I should show you some Mount Holyoke beautiful fall foliage since it's that time of year. And then you go to my business Facebook page, and I'm trying to brand this multimedia pro kind of terminology, and it's .us versus .com because .com was taken. Should have done it years ago, and I would have got .com. Now, finally, if you were trying to find me on YouTube, then you find me on a YouTube channel. And this is just a recent channel I've done. And you create a channel trailer. A trailer meaning I want to present myself to the world. What do I do at Multimedia Pro? And so I have this trailer that's has a certain URL that you go to find out about me, business-wise. Then I can also put on there various things like a lecture at Springfield Technical Community College or whatever else I want. And I have to decide if I'm going to have individual channels for my 3 identities or combine them all. Okay, I just wanted to cover quickly just a couple things about local media, local searches. If I'm here and trying to find a place to have coffee or trying to find an educational institution and I'm in South Hadley, your phone is, of course, GPS activated, right? So it knows where you are. So if I type in something about education, it's likely to come up with Mount Holyoke College. It may come up with Berkshire Hills Music Academy. It may come up with the other private schools here, Pioneer Valley School, etc. And I can't overemphasize enough how important it is to understand that the whole business environment is going to handheld GPS enabled devices. So if you are not, locally friendly with a person that, is searching and trying to locate something right near them, you're missing out a huge part of the market, huge part of business. Now there's a couple services you should, or a couple vendors you should probably register with. One of them would be something like Foursquare. Another one would be, for instance, Yelp. And so these are the ones that track locally what the local businesses are, so that Yelp is going to not only say, hey, you're looking for coffee shops in South Hadley, here they are, and by the way, here are reviews of them. We all experience now, right? You go online before you buy a product, you want to see the reviews. Is it 5 stars, is it 4 stars, is it 3 star? And so all of business now is going towards that. People are going to decide, am I going to go to Thirsty Mind? Am I going to go to Dunkin' Donuts? Am I going to go to some other place? Because of the reviews of that location. And Eric might also touch on that. It's very important that you check your reviews. Because now people are reviewing you and you don't even know it. They're reviewing you on Yelp, etc., and you don't even know it because you don't know that, you should be checking out Yelp and see what people are saying about you. So it's very, very important, to do that, and Eric can talk more about that. Okay, so let's just review the 4 steps. So I talked about step 1. Make sure that you check yourself on these 4 websites. I mean, not check yourself, make sure that you have a presence on these 4. And again, I know all of you saying, oh man, I can't, I don't have enough time for this, I don't have enough expertise in this. Well, unfortunately, the business climate has completely changed in the last 10 years. It's just a whole, change in the business paradigm. And so you really, to be profitable, really need to make those adjustments and try to get that online footprint. And again, think of it in 2 contexts, just as you do socially in over the years of networking and chamber situation. You must develop that credibility, that social part of it with people, as well as credibility from a personal level, as well as a business level. And you must, as you do locally, traditionally in business, have the visibility. You must have that online, very important. And so the second one is, just make sure, again, that you're checking that out, because many businesses have not done that. They have not checked themselves out on Yelp, and they don't realize that maybe they aren't getting great reviews. Maybe that they're getting bad reviews, and they should make adjustments right away, to that. And maybe you're getting good feedback there that you're missing, because you're not checking some of those local-based services. Because we tend to have local businesses here in South Hadley, and we're locally based, and most of our businesses just don't realize that these things are taking place. So you do want to, do your homework on that, or get someone to help you in those areas.